Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 35. That's 35 of the official Level 2 podcast. My name's Keegan. I'm one half of Level 2 Gamers, hanging out with Tom, the other half of Level 2 Gamers. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good job. So I've said this in the other two videos. You haven't watched either the new indie, Please Add Details, our new indie show that came out on Wednesday, or Codename Morpheus, which came out yesterday. We have been off for a couple weeks, and there's a video. If you watched it, you'll know why. If you haven't watched it, or if you're new, my grandma passed away, I guess not this Sunday, but the Sunday before. We got the news the week before that, so I just have not been in mind frame or mindset to record. I'm now back. I'm doing better. Thank you guys to everybody who reached out, anybody who sent me a Facebook message, a DM on Twitter, Discord, all those places. I'm trying to think where else they sent me. I mean, I got YouTube, I got comments. I got, no joke, close to about 100 from various family, friends, and subscribers, and it was just awesome. I actually posted, I think you saw it, on my personal Facebook page where I was like, YouTube's kind of cool when it shows love. Like, there's so much hate that happens on YouTube. Yeah, there's so much hate on YouTube, and just, I was going through a hard time, but I didn't expect anything. Like, everybody deals with it. So I'm back, ready to go. I'm in a way better mindset. I'm excited to jump back into this podcast.
Yeah, this is the chill podcast. We've done the hard ones.
You say it's chill, but I drank a full Red Bull, so I'm a little wired. I drank two, actually, which is probably bad for my heart.
Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. I'm glad that you're back, because
it felt weird. Like, I'm gonna get, before we jump into Keegan's Corner and the game, well, not the game, but the middle segment and your Tom's Tales, it felt weird not recording for two reasons. One, partially I felt like I was letting people down. We've been on a good upswing recently, and it's one of those things where, like, will people go away? Will people cared? Like, it was weird. Like, and it's not all about views, but it's also that thing of you don't want to let people down, and I'm very much that mentality of, one of the things I pride myself on, I think we pride ourselves on it as a channel, is hitting dates we say we're going to do and things we're going to do. And I think we've only missed maybe 3 or 4 uploads total in the life of Level 2, which is going on 2.5 years. So I'm proud of that. Like, there's been a couple we've missed here and there for different reasons. Usually it's got some sort of good excuse tied to it, whether it's lost footage or something else happened. So the last 2 weeks has been rough, obviously personally, and rough from content creation, just not being here recording. And I joked when I walked in today, I go, I feel like it's been like a month. It's been like a while. It's been a while,
but I think that we were lucky enough that we hit it at a time where at least there was something else going on.
Pixel Pop, if you guys haven't seen that, there's Pixel Pop footage,
Pixel Pop
trailers.
filled a lot of the gaps for things that we were intending on putting onto the channel. And then, of course, the wonderful Mr. Macaroni and Dave decided to put together his first content for the channel, which thank you, by the way, for everyone that's commented and shared and watched that. He did a Hitman Silent Assassin walkthrough of the new Hitman game, or the newest Hitman game, the episodic one on PS4, and he spent a lot of time and effort, like, learning how to edit correctly, learning what's
He said you were a lot of help in that.
I tried.
I didn't pay attention to it. It was funny. I joked with him the other night when the first one went up. I was like, I finally watched your Hitman video. He's like, it's about time it went live. I was like, sorry about that.
Yeah.
And also shout out to Blue, who's done some recording for us for PC games, for keys we've gotten recently. And
we've definitely had some help.
I've had a couple other friends that are going to help us out. So it's nice. We're building a community of creators that we love and friends that just want to help out. And they realize I'd like to think we're doing something cool here.
I think we're doing all right. Yeah, we're really close at time of recording to that magic 1,000 number. Again, not that is anything that particularly means anything in the long run, but for the short run, for us, it's just nice. It's just kind of like this bit of recognition, because when we started out, we got an awful lot of subs that kind of came out of nowhere. And you start with your family and friends, and we talked about this during our panel, but you start with mostly your family and friends, and you remember looking back at seeing, like, 50 subs or whatever. Do you remember the Instagram photo where we went from 40 to 80?
Yeah. That was crazy.
When posted one picture on Instagram and got a bunch of subs for no reason. Plenty of raids from One Shot Girl and some other folks that have helped us to get a little higher. But right about now, I think we're running on our own fumes at this time. We're like, we are the reason why the subs are going up.
According to this, we will hit 1,000 subs in 11 days, according to socialblade.com. I don't believe that's true. We'll see if it goes quicker or slower. That's just based on how many we've gotten recently. And there's a spider. There's still a fly.
Fly's been here all fucking recording session. I am going to take
there's a fly going around. So if you guys are listening,
if you see us randomly just making noises or like throwing our hats around, that's because
there's a fly flying around. So let's go ahead and jump into Keegan's Corner, where I pick a topic that we talk about. And my topic is, I was debating on whether I wanted to do, just because the past
I
events.
don't actually know what your topic is.
Yeah, I didn't tell you, and that was for good reason. So I was debating what I wanted to do, because I had a topic picked out for the week. Well, I found out my grandma was in the hospital that we were going to do. But then since the last 2 weeks, I was like, do I want to change the topic because I've had to deal with death a lot recently and a lot of family things? I decided to pick the lighter topic of the two. So my topic is, and as you know, and if you follow us at all, or if you knew, we support Ablegamers.
Yeah.
And Ablegamers is a charity that is designed to help people play games. Their slogan is so everyone can game. They make custom controllers for people. They use switches and all this kind of stuff, so anybody who may have motor skills can play, or lack of motor skills can play. They help with colorblind modes and integrating services into games. So what I want to do is I want to test your knowledge on colorblind mode. So recently at Indie PopCon, if you guys watched that, I got these, and these are just not fancy sunglasses.
I mean, they are.
They're fancy colorblind sunglasses.
Yes.
God, that green screen's green. You guys can't see it, but I can see it now.
What green screen? This is a studio.
It's a studio.
What are you talking about?
But I got these. These help me see colors, and I've been able to play a few games with them. Overwatch, I've played Rory McIlroy. I've played... What's the other one I played the other day? I can't remember. ESO, Elder Scrolls.
I don't know how you live your life.
So I did that. I'm hoping to get contacts soon, so I don't have to wear them over my glasses. I've done the break-in period, so I'm allowed to wear them whenever. So that's always fun. Let me put them away, though.
Those were gifted to you by the wonderful,
amazing people,
Tigrado and Blue and Matt and I hesitate to say myself because I didn't really do much more than
introduce for the video.
Yeah, then kind of make it a good moment. Mostly Tigrado is the hands behind that, but it did make for some wonderful footage, so I'd like to thank him for that. But then so you got your glasses.
Yes, I want to talk a little bit about these because it has changed. It's really hard to explain to somebody who sees color what it's like to see color for the first time. I saw purple for the first time, and somebody at work was like, "How'd you know it was purple?" And I go, "Based on what people have told me, it's blue but redder, essentially." And
blue but red.
It's like,
it's not a bad description.
Yeah, that's what it is. Blue, and I was like, redder. So I can't see certain colors. And I was driving the other day, and I was like, ooh, that car's purple. Like, that was amazing to me. So what is colorblindness? Colorblindness, or color vision deficiency, is a condition where a person's eyes are unable to see colors under normal light. People with colorblindness have a hard time telling colors apart from each other.
Mm-hmm. And there's many different types.
Yes. I'm pro-tan, which is red-green, the most common colorblind. I would say I'm mild to medium. I'm not severe by any stretch of the imagination. I can see greens and I can see blues, but not really. I mix colors up a lot. Obviously, the deeper the color, it's easier to see. The lighter the color. To give you an idea, like when I see green and yellow are the same color, blue sometimes turns to yellow. So give you an idea of what I'm dealing with. There's the bug. How eyes see color. Here's a little bit of education before we jump into our test here. The retina contains approximately 6 million retinal cone cells. Each cell is color specific, responding mainly to the light of a specific frequency. The 3 types of cone cells correspond to the 3 primary colors, red, green, and blue. You have red, green, blue. Who is affected? Colorblindness affects millions of people worldwide. It affects 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women. The condition ranges from a variety of classes, red-green colorblindness being the most common, which is what I've got. Most people who suffer from colorblindness are not blind to color, but have reduced ability to see them. Colorblindness is also called color vision deficiency, which is the more accurate term. So colorblind, we work with somebody who's completely colorblind. He is monochromatic, which was what it's called, and he sees black and white. I did learn the other day from talking to him, he can see in the dark really well, though, because he can't see color. So, like, if it's a white label in a pitch black room, it's like a light in that room, essentially, which I was like, that's weird to think about.
Weird how it's, like, affects more men than women.
It's, do you know why?
No, I was hoping you would tell me.
I will tell you here in a second once we're done with this.
Sure.
CVD, that's color vision deficiency, can be acquired, but most are inherited genetically. The genes that influence the colors inside the eyes are called photopigments, are carried on the X chromosome. If these genes are abnormal or damaged, color blindness occurs. So males have one X chromosome, females have two. So it's a recessive trait. So for a female to get color blindness, both mom and dad have to have color blindness in their family, and they both have to have the recessive gene. There's the bug. For a male, if they only get one X chromosome that is colorblind, has color deficiency, then they are color deficient.
Gotcha.
So
I always thought that the girls had the Y chromosome and we had...
No, do you want to know how I think of it?
Sure.
A Y is a penis. It's got a ball and a dick. Two balls and a dick. That's how I remember it.
I would see it more
because
like
X is
vagina,
X is boobs. That's no joke. That is how I remember.
Yeah, everyone's got a system.
Symptoms and causes. A person with red-green color blindness sees the world differently. Their red and green photopigments have more overlapped than normal, making them unable to see certain colors. And Chroma has found a way, which is the brand of the glasses, to alleviate this by creating specialized lenses that filter out specific colors. Here's how they do it. We're going to give you some science before we get into the fun part. Creating the lenses that started out as computer simulations, constructing sophisticated models that simulate colors and the extent of color deficiency. To create this model, Chroma utilized the latest research on genetics of color blindness and various abnormalities related to photopigments and linked these into a model where it gives the effect on how people with red or green color blindness perceive colors. Okay. So they had to figure out how people see, which is really hard to do.
No easy task.
No.
Yeah.
The second step was to solve the problem by designing an optimal filter that targets specific photopigments. I don't want to say photopigments. I don't know why every time. And Chroma created a patent-pending method called multi-notch filtering, cutting out a sharp wavelength of light to enhance specific colors. And Chroma lenses separate the overlapping green and red cones, helping improve vision for people who have difficulty seeing reds and greens. So basically what it does is it blocks out... You okay there?
So close.
It blocks out those in between colors.
Sorry.
So like, there's a color spectrum here. I might put it up behind me if I remember. But basically, the way it works is the closer you get together with colors that are similar, it cuts out some of those in between. So I see more drastically on either end.
Easier to see either one. Gotcha.
So with that being said, the reason I'm here, we had you do the colorblind test, and you were not colorblind.
Nope.
I did the colorblind test. I was colorblind.
Yep.
Crazy thought. I knew that already.
That's science.
But I'm going to have you take the Are You a Colorblind Expert test. So
the answer is no.
And if you want to take this test, it's on Enchroma.com.
Do I pass because I know that the answer is no?
No.
Okay.
The test is on Enchroma.com. If you go under colorblind test, they have the Take the Online test. So if you want to find out if you're colorblind, you can view the test results. So if you're interested in what each colorblindness means, they'll go through mild, medium, and severe protan, tran, I can never say that one right, and try.
Okay.
And then
so what kind of questions am I going to be asked here?
So how much do you know about colorblindness? Test your knowledge and find out if you're a color vision expert. And Chroma Glass is designed to help people with colorblindness. Made by Chroma in Berkeley, California.
Okay.
We're going to hit start.
Let's do it.
How common is colorblindness in men?
No, I had to listen to you.
1 in 4, 1 in 12, 1 in 100, or 1 in 37,000?
1 in 12.
1 in 12.
I was paying attention, see.
The answer is correct. 1 in 12, or 8% of men have some degree of colorblindness. The colorblindness I have is 12%. The other ones are less common, which is how you get that 8%.
Gotcha.
Next question. How common is
1 in 200.
Color? Let me finish the question so they can hear it. Is colorblindness in women? Women do not get colorblindness. 1 in 200 or 1 in 1,000?
1 in 200.
1 in 200.
That's probably the only part that I actually paid attention to.
Women can be colorblind too, but it's rare compared to men. Only about 0.5% or 1 in 200 have it.
Good for them.
Red-green colorblindness is inherited by which mechanism? An autosomal recessive, autosomal dominant, a X-linked recessive, or an X-linked dominant?
The
autosomal recessive?
No. Yeah, recessive.
Autosomal recessive? Is that what you're going with?
Yeah.
You are wrong.
Yeah.
The genes for colorblindness are carried on the X chromosome. It is a recessive trait, which is why it's more common in men who only have one copy of the X chromosome. So it's X-linked recessive.
Okay. I knew it was recessive. I just wasn't sure which one of the two.
This was my favorite question.
I would have 50-50'd that if this was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah, you were wrong. Mr. Rogers. You know Mr. Rogers?
I do.
Was
Welcome to the
colorblind and could not distinguish between tomato soup and pea soup by its color. Could not see the difference between his goldfish and rainbow tetras. Could not see the difference between Daniel the Tiger and Grand Prairie Tiger.
I've never watched it. So I'm going to go with the soup.
The soup?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah!
Mr. Rogers was known to ask people if a soup was tomato or pea because he could not tell from the color.
That's pretty severe, though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's on the higher end.
Yeah, that's
the reason he cared was that if it was tomato soup, he would put some sugar in it to sweeten the taste.
That's gross, Mr. Rogers.
What is the most common favorite color for people with red-green colorblindness? Is it blue, green, red, or gray?
Blue.
You are correct.
Yeah!
People with red-green colorblindness usually prefer the color blue, which appears to them as to be a richly saturated color, which is partially why I like blue for level 2.
Well, I assumed that red and green would not be in there.
Well, green, I love the color green.
But I can't see it in its entirety.
No, when I put those on, I was like, ooh, I like green even more now.
But, and grey, just as for a start, like, if we're getting into logistics, it's not a colour, it's a shade.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's also boring.
Which eye color is most associated with colorblindness? It has nothing to do with eye color, blue, brown, Harry Potter green, or Elizabeth Taylor violet.
What the fuck is Harry Potter green? Does Elizabeth Taylor have purple eyes?
I guess.
I'm going to go ahead and say it doesn't matter.
You are correct.
Yay!
Colorblindness is caused by differences in retinal cones and cells at the back of the eye. It is not related to eye color.
Can I just say I'm smashing this test, and I didn't know the answers. I'm just.
It gets harder, don't worry.
No, I'm sure it does.
During World War II, people with colorblindness were sent on special missions for what purpose? For night watch shifts and foxholes because they could see a lit cigarette from a greater distance. For aerial surveillance because they could see camouflage vehicles better. To retrieve food drops behind enemy lines because they had a superior sense of smell.
Second one.
For aerial surveillance because they could see camouflage vehicles better?
Yeah, I reckon.
You are correct.
Fuck yes.
Having colorblindness gives you an advantage of aerial surveillance because a person does not see patterns of different colors in the camouflage. They are tended to distract the eye from the shape and concealed object.
Sorry, I was trying to kill the fly with smoke. It didn't work. It kind of worked. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you. We're trying many methods to destroy this fly during this podcast.
What famous CEO is colorblind?
Okay.
Mark Zuckerberg, which is why Facebook is blue. Steve Jobs, which is why the Apple logo was originally a rainbow. Warren Buffett, which is why he focused on numbers and economics instead of pursuing a career in arts.
Definitely not that, because that's a stupid reason. I don't know if Steve Jobs was or not, which is embarrassing. I'm going to say Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
You are correct. The iconic color blue, or iconic color of Facebook was chosen by Mark Zuckerberg because he has red-green colorblindness. So me and Mr. Zuck have something in common.
Blue is a favorite color of red-green colorblind people.
This is my favorite question of this whole test. By the way, there's 4 more questions.
Okay.
Crayola's chief crayon maker had molded how many crayons before he told anyone he was colorblind? 1.4 billion crayons, 170,000 crayons, 34,000 crayons, 731 crayons, or 24 crayons. How many did the maker of Crayola crayons?
I'm going to say 178.
170?
170.
170,000. You are incorrect. Senior crayon maker Emerson Moser didn't tell anyone that he had color blindness until he had retired. And by then, he had overseen the creation of 1.4 billion crayons.
See, I thought that was going to be
37 years.
Too extreme, but yeah. All right, I'll take that.
I think that was an interesting one.
That's crazy.
What is most likely way for a person to get colorblindness? Inherited from their non-colorblind mother, inherited from a colorblind father, from not eating enough carrots and leafy vegetables, from watching too much TV.
Their dad.
Inheriting from a colorblind father?
Yeah.
You are incorrect.
Ah.
You know why?
Tell me it's TV.
Because dad gives you Y chromosome, mom gives you X.
Oh, shit, yeah.
The majority of people with colorblindness are men, which is obtained by the X-linked recessive inheritance. It's rare for a woman to be colorblind, but about 16% of women have the recessive recessive carriers of the genes for colorblindness. And
I was
can pass
going
these
off
genes
of,
onto the male
I
children.
was going off the fact that it's male and males get it more, therefore you'd be more likely to get it from a male.
Yep, nope. Because you
Bad
get
math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get the
I
extra
tried.
Discovery of colorblindness in 1793 is attributed to which scientist? John Dalton, Sir Isaac Newton, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Christian Huygens, or Ada Lovelace? I only know 3 of these people.
Isaac Newton invented many other things.
He didn't invent anything.
Taunting me right now, isn't it?
He didn't invent anything.
Didn't he come up with the theory of gravity?
He didn't invent gravity.
Well, he came up with the theory of gravity.
Yeah.
Arthur Conan Doyle came up with Sherlock Holmes.
So he didn't do it.
He probably didn't do it. What was the other ones? John
Dalton, Christian Huygens, Ada Lovelace.
I'm gonna go with Christian Huygens. That feels good to me.
You are incorrect.
Fucking
John
duck.
Dalton in 1793. John Dalton published the first academic paper about colorblindness, extraordinary facts relating to vision of colors. Dalton thought the condition was caused by blue tint in the virtuous humor of his eyes. I'm assuming that's a part of the eyes. He instructed that his eyes be examined after his death, but his autopsy revealed that his eyes were clear. In a 1995 experiment, DNA extracted from Dalton's preserved eye tissue showed that Dalton was a deuteranope, lacking the green-absorbing photopigment of the retinal cell
Interesting.
cones.
So he couldn't see green at all.
Correct. Well, I am lacking the red. He's lacking green.
Gotcha. Well, he was my second choice.
Which former U.S. president has colorblindness? Bill Clinton, Herbert Hoover, Howard Taft, Bob Dole, or Prince William?
Prince William, former U.S. president.
Yes. I also love how they go from 3 to 5.
I'm gonna say...
Also, I don't know if you know this, but Bob Dole was never president as well.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
I don't think Bill Clinton did. I don't know if it's between Hoover and Taft for me. I'm going to go with Taft.
Taft? You are incorrect.
It was
William
Bill Clinton.
Jefferson, Bill Clinton, 42nd president of the United States, also had red-green colorblindness.
The more you know.
Bob Dole had colorblindness and wanted to be president, but never made it. Prince William is colorblind, but is ineligible for presidency because he's not a citizen of the U.S.
He's also a prince.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Wow,
this was going so well. All right.
We got one more. Last one. What do lights of traffic signals look like to a colorblind person? I've told you this answer before. Red, yellow, white, or very pale green. Red, yellow, green. They can't see colors. They only see positions of the lights. I told you this because the first time I went to a sideways light, I was confused.
Red, yellow, white.
You are correct.
Yay! I listened to
Typically,
you sometimes.
the green traffic signal looks like a very pale green or white light to a person with red-green colorblindness. So yeah, the first time I went to a traffic light that wasn't this way, but it was this way, I had to sit there for a second and realize what was going on. Because you laugh, but it's true because I don't.
No, I believe
I don't
you.
know.
I'm just
So
sucks.
let's see your results, Tom.
How good am I?
I'm trying to scroll down. We broke it.
You broke it. This
we
better
go.
be good results.
You're a color enthusiast. You
Aw.
scored a 8 out of 13, 61%.
That's not bad.
Great work. You're on your way to being a color vision expert.
There you go.
10,458 people got what you did.
Cool.
To give you an idea that what I got on this, I got in the 80s.
Okay.
I missed the president one, and I missed Zuckerberg. I think I did Buffett.
Gotcha.
So, but that's
So, I mean, I feel I'm all right with that, you know, considering that I literally thought I would get 0. I'm kind of okay with that score.
so. Again, if you guys want to take it, it's on Enchroma.com. It's
Yeah.
the same place that made my glasses.
It's ENCHROMA.
And if you want to learn more about colorblindness in video games, head over to Ablegamers.org. And also, there will be charity live streams going on. I know coming up here shortly, Last Good Milk Pig's doing one. We're hoping to do one here again soon. Having my grandma's situation kind of put a wrench in my plans on that, so
I'm legitimately thinking about that 24-hour one.
you should.
I need to figure out how to stream normally because I just got a new computer.
This one right here. Well, you can't
The
see it
one that
'cause
we're
of the-
using. Flyers just loves it.
This one.
It's a fancy one, and it means that I should technically be able to stream finally from my computer. I actually just ordered a tripod and a long USB cable and a new webcam too.
There you go.
So I'm planning on, with my part-time hours now, being able to do some more streaming. So I will at some point get into the 24-hour game and see if I can last the night.
Cool.
Cool.
So the reason I brought that up, obviously it's not gaming related, but I'm Colorblindness. We support Ablegamers. I felt like it was important to educate people, and I wanted to see how you did.
Are you tired of me?
I mean, you did all right. You did about what I expected.
Considering I know fuck all about any of it, I think I did.
Well,
right?
I loved how you're like, fuck, I had to listen to you.
For the beginning part, yeah.
And then from there, it's just like, do you know this answer?
I remembered some of it. I didn't mind the general knowledge ones. That was mostly just trial and error.
Yeah.
That's how
process of elimination.
How I would approach.
But I do recommend any of you that are watching and or listening, if you head over to Enchroma, ENCROMA.com.
HROMA.
ENCHROMA. Yes, I forgot the R or H. Head over there. The link will be down in the description if I'm good to put it in there. Who knows? I probably will forget it by the time we edit this.
Cool.
But take the colorblind test if you're colorblind. I'll answer any questions you have, but it is a good resource. There's also papers out there if you want to learn more about it and the severity. Also, one of the things I challenge you to do is look at video games and see what they support when it comes to either colorblindness or other disabilities, whether it's vision, motor, or auditory. So with that, let's jump into our little segment here, which normally would be a game, but it's not a game, it's a bunch of facts.
Today is really special for me because I'm going to call this segment Great Moments in Gaming is my name for it. I don't know if you like that.
Are you going to make a I feel like you need to make a thing for that.
I could make a thing for it. So
I picture a mountain.
Great Moments in Gaming is basically going to be me or Keegan talking about a particularly special moment in a video game that affected a lot of people the same
we're talking about hot coffee
way. So, that could genuinely be a great moment in gaming. The hot coffee exploit could be mentioned because there was so much controversy that surrounded it. A common one that I usually bring up is the first time you see the giraffes in The Last of Us. But today is going to be something a little different. Today is going to be one of those moments that I played a video game, and when I hit this part, and this is, by the way, massive spoilers throughout this entire section, so just skip to Tom's Tales if you don't want to learn about
Bioshock spoilers.
Bioshock is the game we're talking about. The original Bioshock, not any of the newer ones. So if you've not played it and you want to play it and you don't want to learn about this massive plot twist, then please...
I don't know about it, but I'm about to find out.
Turn off now. But yeah, so basically... those of you that have played Bioshock know that it is a story of a man that is stranded at sea and then ends up going to a lighthouse, and when he goes into the lighthouse he finds somewhat of an elevator down into the depths of a place called Rapture, and Rapture is an underwater city. Now Rapture is an underwater city that went horribly fucking wrong.
I could probably guess by the name.
Yeah, I mean what it was basically this guy designed this city under the sea so they could do science that was not allowed to be done in the real world.
I feel like that's something we would do in the real world.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Out of the ocean where there's no government.
Sounds like it would be a real thing. But, as such, they tested out these kind of genetic modifications and things that you could do. Basically give people powers, like superhero powers, through injections and things like that. And, it's an amazing game. One of the most atmospheric games of all time. If you've not played it, then get around to it. There's a remaster of all three of them available on PS4 and Xbox right now, so I suggest you pick that up. But here's the great moment in gaming part of Bioshock, aside from the whole game, which is just beautiful.
I've played an hour of that game. I just didn't like it.
There is a kind of a thing that, and I'll get into it heavily. There's a thing that turns up towards the end of the game, a phrase, if you will. Most people who've played it know exactly where I'm going with this, but there's a phrase that turns up towards the end of the game that you learn has been a part of the game since the beginning, but you were completely unaware of this phrase and the power. Is that inside my glass? You motherfucker. Get off me, you stupid cunt of a fly. Sorry. Anyway, so this phrase is, would you kindly? And Would You Kindly has these kind of deep roots in Bioshock as a very special moment in the game and a turning point in the game as well. So I'm going to read you a little bit about the history of the phrase Would You Kindly and where it fits into the Bioshock universe, because I think it's a really special moment for everyone, and I'll explain after this kind of how it hit me. So Andrew Ryan's character in the game, quoted as saying, "Would you kindly?" Powerful phrase, familiar phrase. So would you kindly is a program trigger or post-hypnotic activation phrase created by Dr. Yi Su-chong, used by Frank Fontaine, posing as Atlas, to control Jack's action, Jack is you in the game, while guiding him through Rapture to achieve his plans for killing Andrew Ryan. The phrase is first seen on the gift from home Jack was holding during the flight at the beginning of the game. The message is only fully seen later through a flashback, which reveals the content of the package and the instructions to bring down the plane near the White House, the surface entrance
The
to
lighthouse,
Rapture.
not the White House.
Did I say White House?
You said White House.
I meant Lighthouse.
Lighthouse.
There you go.
White House is
Freudian
Doomsday.
slip. So, acting as Atlas, Fontaine contacted and guided Jack as soon as he reached the city. Fontaine used the control phrase sparingly. For instance, he never commanded Jack to harvest little sisters, allowing him free will to choose. Probably so Jack would not suspect his manipulations. Using too much of this specific phrase might tip his hand and reveal their true identity to Ryan and Bridget Tenenbaum, who worked in collaboration with Suchong on Jack's body, among others. Sometime after Jack's arrival in Rapture, Ryan pieced together the plot against him and the mind control phrase's power over Jack. During their confrontation, Ryan demonstrated it to Jack and then chose to force Jack to kill him, illustrating the personal philosophy he maintained all his life: a man chooses, a slave obeys. Later, Fontaine tried to use the phrase to force Jack to commit suicide, but this last order failed because Tenenbaum had already removed the trigger and others from Jack's mind while he was unconscious in her sanctuary. At this point, Fontaine attempts to use a separate conditioning, Code Yellow, to kill Jack. And so throughout the game, there are several instances of this being used. At the beginning of the game, in Jack's letter, "To Jack, with love from Mum and Dad, would you kindly not open until... ... It is later revealed that the package contains a pistol, and the rest of the note has geographic coordinates on it. That is where Jack is to use the pistol to hijack the plane so that it comes down near the lighthouse. Before Jack picks up the radio, spoken by Atlas, would you kindly pick up that shortwave radio? Before Jack picks up the wrench, spoken by Atlas, now, would you kindly find a crowbar or something? When Jack first encounters a little sister, spoken by Atlas, careful now, would you kindly lower that weapon for a moment? After Jack finishes photographing the spider slices in Neptune's bounty, spoken by Atlas, head over to Fontaine Fisheries where, when you're ready, would you kindly? If Jack takes too long before making the Lazarus Vector, spoken by Atlas, would you kindly get this thing crafted already? Air's only getting thinner down here. After Jack confronts Sander Cohen, spoken by Atlas, would you kindly leg on over to the Sphere and get on down here to Hephaestus? And after Jack enters Hephaestus, spoken by Atlas, now, would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch? Sprawled in red spray paint or blood on the wall with the photos just outside Ryan's office, where the audio diary mind control test is located. On the audio diary itself, break that puppy's neck, would you kindly? When Andrew Ryan controls him like a pet dog with commands like sit, would you kindly? Ultimately leading to kill, causing Jack to obediently murder Ryan. After Jack kills Andrew Ryan and retrieves his genetic key to the Master City's controls, spoken by Atlas, now would you kindly put it in the goddamn machine? And finally, the beginning of the Olympus Heights level, spoken twice by Fontaine, go get stepped on by a big daddy, would you kindly? Huh? I said, would you kindly go get stepped on by a big daddy? At this point, Bridget Tenenbaum has cured Zack of the phrase's hypnotic suggestion, so it has no effect on him. How this works throughout the game is that as you start out in Rapture, you are very much unaware of what's going on. You're just a guy that steps into this underwater city that looks like some horrible shit went down and you're not entirely sure what horrible shit it is. And the guy that's guiding you through is a lovely Irish fella, Fontaine, or Atlas as he's called throughout here. And basically he keeps occasionally bringing up this phrase, would you kindly, throughout the tale, but you don't realize it because it's in the background. It's so innocuous of a phrase that you just never really pick up on it.
So as I just said before, I've only played probably an hour of it, and just looking at the quotes that you said, the only one that stood out to me of like in proper English was where you used would you kindly at the end. Head over to Fontaine's Fisheries when you're ready, would you kindly? To me, that was the only one that like...
That's the one that is not like, you can tell that's like maybe not quite a correct sentence.
Yeah.
But basically, as you're playing through the game, he's dropping this in here and there. And like they said at the beginning, it's sparingly used. So that when you finally come up against Andrew Ryan and it's your turn to potentially kill the guy, because you've been told this whole entire time that he's this kind of monster, he flips it on the head and actually says, did you know that the voice that's been guiding you all the way to me has been controlling you through this phrase? And he proves it by saying, would you kindly, sit like a dog or whatever. And there's this kind of moment of realization, because you don't realize it throughout the entire game until that moment, and then you suddenly go, oh shit, like this guy that I've been like doing everything he says from the exact beginning, because that's how a normal game works, has been controlling me with this phrase that I have not even picked up on until right now when it came up. And this kind of mind-blowing moment comes out when you realize all the small things that you missed along the way, the ones I just listed, that the times that he said it, and it seemed like maybe you remember him saying it a couple times, that you don't remember how many times he said it. And, you know, when you're confronted finally with Andrew Ryan and the use of this phrase and like how it sort of manipulated you, it is probably one of the better twists in any video game I've ever played, because I was just like so blown away by the fact I never noticed it throughout the entirety of the game. And that became one of the, I mean, aside from the atmosphere, one of the big talking points of the game is the fact that you are being controlled through this message that you don't realize until it's too late. And I thought that was a wonderful use of storytelling and narrative, and a wonderful use of kind of blowing your mind a little bit with something that is sort of built up but so subtly that you would not notice it until someone points it out to you. And yeah, so I'm including that in great moments in gaming history, because I think "Would You Kindly" is such a synonymous phrase now with that series, and also just in general with like storytelling in video games.
Well, it's a fine line of doing like you said in there, of doing it too much or not doing it enough to make a point. Like, you have to have that fine balance of like, if I do it too much, they'll know. If I don't do it enough, it won't make any sense.
I can't imagine anyone picked up on it until that moment, because it just seemed like a guy just asking you politely to do stuff throughout the entire game. Like, you never once thought, why does it keep saying that phrase? Like, it at least to me, like, maybe I'm dumb, like maybe there's other people that picked up on it, but personally, if you've played BioShock, I would love to know this. If you've played BioShock, did you pick up on that phrase before the interaction with Andrew Ryan, or were you as equally surprised as I was when I found out that was sort of a sleeper cell phrase?
That was BioShock 1. Did they, I assume at that point, because it became known, I'm assuming they didn't use that in BioShock 2.
They hearkened back to it a little bit, like there was little references, but no, they didn't use it as a controlling point.
I feel like that was good, because if they did, everybody would have known.
Yeah, exactly. They have some like from some file format or something that says WYK, which stands for "Would You Kindly."
But that's also then for the fans who played BioShock 1, then would understand. Yeah, it's an Easter egg essentially.
It's a beautiful, beautiful game. I do recommend you pick up the full remaster. It's usually on sale. In fact, right now it's on sale as we're recording this, and it has all 3 BioShock games. BioShock 2 surprisingly decent, not as good as the first one, but definitely surprisingly enjoyable. And of course, the BioShock Infinite is very enjoyable as well. Different type of story, but the ending to that is one of the better endings of any game in recent memory. But yeah, I'm going to put "Would You Kindly" into the annals of great moments in gaming history, and we'll pick another one next time. I'll let you pick next time.
You're saying great moments in gaming.
There you go. So with that being said, let's move on to Mateo. So Mateo was going to be 10 reasons why Keegan should like Japanese games. I decided to tweak that a little bit because A, I couldn't think of 10 reasons, and B, Keegan is a tough nut to crack. So instead, I decided to go with 5 reasons why I love Japanese pop culture.
So you went from trying to convince me to
just telling you why it's good.
You like it.
Yeah, exactly. So here are my top 5 reasons why I love Japanese pop culture in all of its formats and why you should pay attention to it. So reason number 1. This is personal to me. I grew up on JRPGs, so I still think they're amazing. And one of the things that I always loved the most about JRPGs was the fact that it was always good value for money. Because every JRPG, or the original ones anyway, were like at least 80 to 200 hours. Like, they were in that crazy time slot, which for a lot of people is a big investment. But, you know, if you think about like Elder Scrolls or Western RPGs, The Witcher, things like that, people put equal amounts of time into those style of games. But for me, the JRPG was always like, if I spend $60 on this, I am going to get my fucking money's worth. I am going to get 100% of my money's worth out of this game. As opposed to buying like a single narrative experience like Tomb Raider or whatever, where it's like 8 hours, 10 hours, feels a bit cheap after you spent $60 on it. And that's
if you equate the cost of the game with the amount of time played versus the cost of game.
I equate it to the
experience.
amount of longevity I get out of it. That doesn't mean that it has to be single player. So I will say, like, something like Modern Warfare, which has a 5-hour campaign, like, I equate that to $60 because the multiplayer is so good and replayable. But for a standard single player standalone experience with no multiplayer, yes, I do it based on experience.
That's fair. So if the experience is worth $60,
I definitely have done that, but yeah, I used to, and still to some extent do that. So the games that I used to play: Final Fantasy, Dragon's Quest, Persona, Danganronpa, all very unique games.
I played exactly 0 of those.
And I mean, you've played a little bit of Final Fantasy, I think, right?
No, you played
the demo.
I mean, yeah, but
no. It's not really like the original ones, but Dragon's Quest you would like. Dragon's Quest is like a cartoony version of Final Fantasy.
You assumed I'd like weird Japanese things. Remember, you tried to convince me and you realized you couldn't, so...
Well, no. I'm still going to. I decided I wasn't going to do it today. So yeah, I grew up on Final Fantasy, Dragon's Quest, Persona, Danganronpa, and all these kind of beautiful JRPG / like, and they're not all JRPGs. Like some of those are just like the weird sort of like day-to-day school sims or whatever. But they have a very unique style to them. Persona 5 being the one that I'm currently stuck in. I'm at the final boss, guys. I'm almost there.
So get good. Just beat him.
Well, I didn't have time this morning. I was going to beat him before you came over.
I saw you were on because I played a couple matches of Overwatch, so I could up my level.
So that's reason number one. Just because I think JRPGs have such a rich history. They're so worth the money. And personally, that was like playing the original Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 6. Those ones were the ones that made me believe that the value for money in a JRPG is usually far higher than.
I like Japanese culture, but if that Japanese culture involves Mario.
Yeah, see, that's too Western, isn't it? Well, Italian, I suppose. Okay,
well, he's an Italian plumber. Doesn't mean the game's set in Italy. Game set in Mushroom Kingdom.
It should be in Italy. That would be way better. So number 2, they are amazing at horror. Which I love. Obviously, I'm a huge horror fan, and the Japanese have this very, very unique take. I sound like a goat then. Very, very unique take on horror, which is just incredible. Most of the more popular horror movies that you've seen come out of the Western side of things have been based upon Eastern tales of horror, and Eastern horror is so fucked up. It's beautiful.
Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even call that a horror, but yeah, I mean that's actually an allegory for war, believe it or not. But so Junji Ito is one of my favorite sort of manga artists. He's my go-to guy for just like fucked up Japanese horror stuff. And Junji Ito made a couple of things you may or may not have heard of. Uzumaki is a very popular book. It's about this town that gets infected by the idea of a spiral. There's like this dust comes up in the air one day and it's a spiral, and this guy gets like infected by it, and everyone in the town starts getting weirdly affected by the idea of a spiral shape. So like this guy literally twisted himself into a spiral in his washing machine just because he wanted to be a spiral. And
you know how weird this sounds?
Yeah, really weird. And it's absolutely one of the most mental books I've ever read. But if you get chance, Uzumaki is terrifying. Uzumaki is, by the way, Japanese for spiral, or whirlpool, one of the two. Amazing story. There's a movie about that. There's a movie about the other one that he had. God, I cannot fucking for the life of me remember the name right now, but it's about a giant shark with legs. Anyway,
Sharkman.
No, it's not Sharkman.
Sharkman.
It begins with a G, but I forget what it is. Anyway,
Jumanji. That starts with a J.
Incredible artists, incredible movies. They have so much in the way of like legends. Like they have so many like awesome legends in terms of their horror that they come off of. Even stuff like the Suicide Forest. Are you familiar with the Suicide Forest? You're about to be. So the Suicide Forest is a real thing in Japan. It's basically this forest that sits, I don't know exactly where it is. I feel like it's towards the bottom of Mount Fuji somewhere, but I could be incorrect on that totally. But the Suicide Forest is basically this forest that's supposedly massively haunted because a lot of people go there to die, essentially. They go there to kill themselves, and a lot of people will go there as tourists because of how haunted it's supposed to be. So you can actually sort of, if you go off the beaten path, you are highly likely to find a body just because there's that many there. And you know, the police and all the rangers and everything try and stay on top of it, but there's just so many like empty campsites, and like there's like even like ribbons that are like like that go off the beaten path for where people got to, so they want someone to find the body. So super creepy place, but real place. And games, horror games as well that they put out are incredible too. Fatal Frame was one of the creepiest games I've ever played in my life, where you only have a camera and you have to like spot these ghosts with this camera, and just super creepy. So yes, so JRPGs and games in general from Japan. Horror is a big thing there, big thing for me. Anime and manga. They're incredibly wide in variety, covering all kinds of little quirks, no matter what they are. Incredible mediums for storytelling, because they are essentially for adults just as much as children. And there truly is something for everyone. And, you know, they're also not afraid to go absolutely nuts. So the example that I put in here is Urotsukidoji, which is probably one of the weirdest mangas I've ever seen, or animes I've ever seen, where it's about a giant like monster that has like giant penises that try and kill things. There's just a scene in there where like there's this like these giant monster tentacle penises like flying through a hospital trying to kill people. I tried to get into animes, recently. Super rapey.
Can't outside of like, I mean, obviously the big ones, Pokemon, Sailor Moon. Like I didn't even get into Dragon Ball Z, but Sailor Moon and Pokemon were the two that got me. I obviously watched Death Note, but I've yet to find another one that is similar to that. I've tried to watch a few of them, and I was like, this just...
They're few and far between, but once you find the ones you really like, then... I mean, for you, like, horror's and off the cards, and a lot of the best...
I like psychological fucked up stuff. That's why I really liked Death Note, was because of the sense of, am I doing the right thing with this power I have?
Yeah.
So I found that very intriguing. Granted, by the end of it, I was like, okay, this is drawing out too long. They should have stopped it. Like,
they definitely should have stopped it
10
after L.
to 12 episodes
but Nier was okay. I like Nier. He was all right.
Yeah.
You should watch Parasite, I think. That's a bit horror-y, but it's more psychologically fucked up than it is horror-y. Like everything is kind of like obviously fake. It's a cartoon, so it's not really like spooky. So yeah, and of course, even as far as like the anime and manga stuff goes, even going back to that early style of art that they have in Japan, the ukiyo, which we did that ukiyo pop interview with BD Judkins. But ukiyo even is a really beautiful art style, and I like that a lot as well. Number 4. The music is fucking delightful. So, only in Japan is the music so consistently nuts. Everything from baby metal to J-pop. I recommend Utada Hikaru. She's one of my favorite artists. She did a lot of the music for Kingdom Hearts. If you remember the song Colorblind from Kingdom Hearts, that was Utada Hikaru, amongst other things. And then Dragon Ash, also like a hip-hop group from Japan that I listened to an awful lot. They had a song that was at the ending of the movie Battle Royale. So if you remember that weird, like, slightly jaunty song at the end of Battle Royale, that was Dragon Ash. And then also they do metal really, really well. If you remember from the Death Note intro, that was a guy called Maximum the Hormone.
Which one? Because they changed the intro.
The good one. The one that was like dan 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 dan.
Because they changed it.
Yeah, the shitty one. No, there's the good one. The song is called "What Up, People" by Maximum the Hormone, who is himself an interesting character. But the phrase "big in Japan" is something that we've come to love. And also is absolutely true. There is just so much variety out there as far as their musical tastes and things like that. So the music, I think, is lovely. I was watching this morning, I told you, just showed up in my YouTube, like suggested videos, was the Persona. It was like a Persona live concert. So like the jazz bands and everything that do the music for Persona came to do a live concert. And I just watched the whole fucking thing.
It was like Zelda. Zelda's got that touring thing they do.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was really, really cool. And lastly, they are super enthusiastic about everything. Very passionate. They have some of the best fandoms in the world and a true appreciation for some of the things we might take for granted. So I'm going to go ahead and say the PS Vita is still a thriving format in Japan. They have super bizarre games as far as like sort of games they play with each other. Like, you know, we have like Smell the Cheese and things like that.
No.
You've never played Smell the Cheese?
No. I played Spank Yoda.
Smell the Cheese is when you say, hey, smell the cheese. And then they smell the cheese and you punch them in the face. It's a very short game. But
it's like if your hand's bigger than your face, you have cancer?
Yes, exactly the same deal. So there's a fun game in Japan.
That's just called being an asshole.
Quite literally, the fun game is called Kancho. And Kancho is the game of what you do is when someone is unsuspecting, you put your hands together like this, and then you poke them up the bum with it. and it's called Kancho. It's a real thing, I swear to God. Google it, Kancho. And the weird part about it is they love doing it to foreigners, and they love especially doing it to teachers. Like the students will do it to teachers, be like, joing. It shows up in animes. Like Naruto has people that do like Kancho and stuff, and it's just like a funny thing that they do in Japan, and no one seems to think is creepy or rapey at all. But if you're like an English teacher going over there to teach English to Japanese students, Kancho is a really big thing to watch out for, so them kids don't go and ching you up the butt. So there you go. They fucking love robots as well, which I think is a noble thing to love. Quite literally, they fucking love robots. They are actually trying to do some good work in the world of robotics, but mostly so they can fuck them, which just makes me sort of more endeared to them, because they just really want robot friends. It is creepy in an awesome way, which is it's just cool. I just love the fact that they're consistently trying to come up with some kind of a replicant human android, which is just, and they're pretty much the only country that is like balls to the wall, like we're gonna make a robot or we're gonna die trying, and lastly, their diet consists mostly of seafood, which is what I eat. It's pretty much the only thing I'm allowed to eat. So seafood is huge for me. I can't do like seaweed, like they eat like roasted seaweed and like squid on a stick and that kind of stuff. I couldn't do that. But as far as like their fish and their that kind of stuff and shrimp, they're huge into that.
My dad loves going to Japan, mainly for sushi.
Great sushi too.
But I asked him, because my dad travels the world, and I asked him what was his favorite place to go for the food, and he always says Japan, hands down. He's like, I did one time go to market, and there's just, like the Rubbermaid tubs. There's just a couple of Rubbermaid tubs. One had snakes in it, one had turtles in it, and he's like, you just walk down, you pick it, they get it and kill it, and you're done.
Yeah, there's definitely creepy food out there, but for the most part, it's just a lot of seafood. They're big into seafood.
Well, they're on an island,
right?
So.
Basically, this is me saying Japan is awesome. They've always been awesome. They'll always be awesome, and they deserve more praise. Because you can have something like Neo Tokyo at nighttime where everything's all like neon and shiny and they have all the fancy new stores and everything, and then you have beautiful parts of Japan like the foot of Mount Fuji, which has all the cherry blossom trees. It's very tranquil, just a beautiful kind of area. So JRPGs, horror, manga and anime, music, and the fact that they are so very passionate about all the things that they do and love are my top 5 reasons for why I think Japan is awesome.
I've always said that if I traveled outside the States to go somewhere, if it wasn't to go see friends, I would probably go to Tokyo, because I love New York City, and to me that's New York City on steroids. And I think I would quickly be overwhelmed, but I think it'd be a cool thing to see. Yeah. Just again, the fandom, the lights, all that kind of stuff. It'd be a lot of fun to go there. I would be so out of my element.
Their fashion and stuff is crazy too. Like there's books on Japanese fashion that are insane. I remember when I used to work at a convenience store back in England, my first job, there was a bunch of Japanese like exchange students that came in, and they had these belts. And you have those belts so the flap just like hangs off a little bit. Well, theirs touched the floor. Like the flap came all the way down and touched the floor. I used to have one that went down pretty much to my knee. Yeah, but this was dragging on the floor, and I look at this guy and I'm going like, what's going on with your belt, man? And like, because he spoke a little bit of English, he goes, it's fashion in Japan, and like all these guys had these belts that were dragging on the floor, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was just like, I was very
impressionable.
Yeah, impressionable is a good word. But I just thought, how fucking dope is it that's just a thing they do there. They're just like, nah, I want my belt to be on the floor, fucker, deal with it.
That's how we are with top knots.
Well,
that was the thing for a while.
Some people are with top knots.
You're just jealous because you can't have one.
I never would ever wear a top knot. But,
me neither.
Yeah, but
there are a few things I'd wear.
But yeah, so they just, I don't know. It's such an amazing culture, and that's why I'm so fascinated with it, and that's why I play so many Japanese games and give those games as much of a highlight and a shine as I can, because they do have a good indie development scene. It's undeniable that their gaming scene has dropped over the years. Like they do not get the same kind of output that they should be putting out from like the 90s when we got most of our games from Japan, but they are still working on it, and more importantly they seem to be putting a heavy focus on VR, which is good for us, because there's an awful lot of experiences going to come out of that are very intriguing. So yeah, Japan, go Japan, yay you. Shout out to all the Japanese podcast listeners that we know exist. Anything you want to add?
No, because I'm definitely more of a Western person.
That's okay.
I'm an Xbox guy through and through, and Xbox was the West, not Japan. I did watch an interview with it wasn't Peter Moore. It was Seamus Blackley, the guy who started Xbox. And he said one of the regrets they had initially was that they didn't get the Japanese market because they didn't understand. Mm-hmm. So the Duke controller, as you know, is, as most people know, the big monstrous one. And the only reason they refined the controller, because at the time they couldn't, it would have cost too much money to make a smaller board, and that's why the controller is as big as it is. But the only reason they refined the controller was because in the Japanese market wasn't selling. Partially that's probably because software too. It very much didn't have Japanese software on it.
Smaller hands.
But they wanted a smaller controller. And the people that were talking to Microsoft, and I guess the representatives in Japan were like, no, this won't sell over here. So that's the only reason you got the S. And it's funny because as a kid, I preferred the S because I had smaller hands. Now I prefer the Duke because my hands are bigger. So it's like, I kind of understand, though, where that S came from. And yeah, I just found it interesting because, like you said, the gaming culture over there is still thriving. I think Sony, hands down.
It's thriving in the East, but it's not quite hitting the West the same way that it used to.
And I think that's partially because the West has sprung up.
Yeah,
with so many things, like there's so many great.
But
games
also, there has been somewhat of a drop in quality of things that have come out of Japan. I mean, you know, the Final Fantasy series has been all over the fucking place for the last couple of years.
15.
Dragon Quest seems to take forever to get a port over here. They just announced that they're going to port the last one over here now, which is like, all right, it's been fucking like 5 years or whatever, but sure. Persona is pretty much the only thing, but again, Persona took like 5 years to come out, so there's just not enough. There's not enough because a lot of people like yourself just don't get it, and
it costs a lot of money
never
to
get it, and it costs a lot of money.
Localization is expensive.
Yeah. But you look at things like Nier Automata and some of the other stuff that's come out, and there have been some really amazing games to come out from that side of the world recently. But they definitely have their quirks, and not all of their quirks translate well, which I think is a lot of it is that it just gets lost in translation. Even something like Persona, for a lot of people that have never
whenever you explain it to me, I'm like, this sounds too complicated for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, this is too much going on.
It's one of those things that you really have to just kind of play it to get it, but
to play you got to buy it.
True. I mean, you can use my copy.
Well, no, I'm saying the general public, though.
Yeah,
to
true.
play, you got to buy it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to buy it if
you
you
do have to take a risk on a lot of that stuff, and sometimes it won't pay off, and sometimes it will. But yeah, that's my tale of Japan and my love for it.
Cool.
There you go. That's about a podcast, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you again for coming back to give us your attention. We've had a weird couple weeks, but a good couple weeks in some ways. Definitely going to Pixel Pop has been a highlight of the year.
It was weird for me. So one of the, kind of wrap everything up for the last couple weeks for me, I told you I was going to step away pretty much. Like, I was like, look, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to back off. You edited all the Pixel Pop stuff, just because I was like,
That was like 15 videos, by the way.
I wasn't home,
yeah, and
I was doing some other things, family stuff, and I finally felt like I got back to normal, like I said, on Saturday, and it's been a slow process to that point. I'm going to have to go back up at some point to grab more stuff from her house because they're bring an auctioneer in to sell the stuff and then sell the house. So
estate sale.
Gotta head back up. Yeah. I went to my mom and go, so this is what an estate sale's like.
Yeah, they're kind of weird.
So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks, but we're back. We're back streaming on Sundays again. Tom asked if I wanted to stream, I guess, last Sunday, and I said no because I want to come back on Tuesday with podcast full bore. Plus, I knew how much I had to record on the last 2 days because things stacked up.
Yeah,
so
we're in a good place though. We're doing really well for viewership and for engagement. I'd like to thank everybody so far that's been in our comments. Just drop in interesting comments, funny comments, asking us questions. We love that stuff. Keep it coming. That's the best thing you can do for us. Aside from sharing our stuff out to people that you think might dig it, commenting and engaging with us is the best thing you can do for the channel. So if you really dig it, please do feel free to chime in and ask us stuff.
And if you're listening, do give us a rating on iTunes, Google Play, wherever
give
that
us
does
a nice
help.
Rating.
It does help with discoverability. I mean, this is a shameless thing to say, but I'm going to say it. If you are listening, if you do rate, it does boost you up the search rankings, and obviously you want to be in the top 200 to be found in the top charts. I don't think we're anywhere near that, but it does help. Even one review helps that rating just a little bit. Share with your friends. Even if you watch on YouTube, go rate it on iTunes or Google Play or vice versa. If you're on Google Play or iTunes, go subscribe on YouTube.
We don't ask for your money, but we do ask for 2 seconds of your time to give it a thumbs up, or 5 stars, or 4 stars if you didn't like it that much. You know, whatever. I mean, be honest with yourself, but, you know, just help us out, man.
That is the official Level 2 podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for watching.
And as always,
welcome to the second level.
Bye.
It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.